get into slideshow mode. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. I do see that we have some people joining on. Welcome to our session today. Can everybody hear me okay? Some thumbs up from our other presenters. Wonderful. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about financing scholarships and working while you study. We have three fantastic universities today. I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves. My name is Ana Luisa Teodoro. I'm the International Recruitment Specialist at St. Francis College. We are a private Franciscan university based in Brooklyn Heights, New York. And I'll pass it off to my other colleagues to introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Orezu Kashani Soto, and I'm the Director for International Admissions at Northern Illinois University. We're a public research institution located in DeKalb, Illinois.
Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining us. My name is Vince Watson. I'm a Senior Student Recruitment Manager here at University Canada West, located in the heart of downtown Vancouver, and I'm excited to share more about our wonderful university.
Fantastic. So to start all of this off, we're going to go over some highlights of what to expect while we're studying. So some things to kind of keep in mind. We're going to talk about preparing to study internationally, some ideas of how to finance your education at the undergraduate and graduate level, work options on and off campus. In addition, you're going to have some special time for each of us to talk about our university and share a little bit to you on this virtual world about what our universities are like and essentially how you should come to us. So some things to keep in mind before you even start about how do we finance this, what are work options, how do we prepare to travel? At the undergraduate and graduate levels, there tends to be a lot of similarities figuring out what college is right for you. Something that I like to tell all of my students and every counselor is there's no such thing as the perfect college. I wish there was, and if I do find it, I will tell all of you. But what there is a perfect college for your student. Every school offers something different for a student to take advantage of, and it is their responsibility and also one of the joys of the admissions process, even though it can be very stressful, of finding that perfect fit. So some things to consider when we're preparing for all of this is one, sponsorship and financing. In order to travel and in order to study as an F1 student visa, and that's for the United States mostly, and also Canada as well, if you do not have citizenship within the country that you're applying for, you are required to apply for an F1 student visa, and that requires either sponsorship by the student or a collection of sponsors to assist with that process. We'll get into that a little bit more later, but just some things to consider as how am I going to finance that education? On the undergraduate and graduate level, budgets are your friend. Come in with a realistic goal in mind in order to figure out how am I going to finance my education. Additionally, what do campuses look like in light of COVID-19? How have universities adapted to this changing landscape? And additionally, on both levels, start researching options. What are programs that are going to fit your education best and essentially good stepping stones for you to get to where you want to go? Anybody want to jump in on this really quick?
I would say that the most important thing about researching is just making sure that you understand what exactly the programs may entail, and not just by looking at just the name of the program, because sometimes that could be different than what you are thinking. So just make sure that you research the programs itself, not just by the names, but by visiting the school's website and the department's website to see if that is truly a fit for your academic pursuit for the students.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And just to add to that, research more than just typing in something into a Google search engine, but actually taking the time to explore thoroughly and learn more about the program, about the university, about the opportunities. There's so much that you can find on university websites these days. So I wouldn't just limit the research to a search engine or word of mouth, but actually taking the time to have a detailed look.
Fantastic. So let's do a quick overview of what studying in the United States looks like. Again, we're going to go into what this looks like specifically for Canada in just a minute, but let's focus on the United States. And Vince, I'm sorry, we got to exclude you for 5 seconds.
No problem.
But keep this in mind for in the United States, there are several similarities with Canada. But unless a student is a dual citizen, and what we mean by that is has United States residency, all students who are international coming in require an F1 student visa, not a work visa, not a travel visa, an F1 student visa. In order to obtain an F1 student visa, they have to be accepted into a school. to be given an I-20 by the designated school official, also known as the DSO. An I-20 requires several things like a copy of the passport, student information sheet, but the biggest part of the I-20 is total cost of attendance, proof of funds. The way that I like to describe it to all my students as nobody ever pays the I-20 fee. What the total cost of attendance is essentially saying, look, I promise that I could live in the United States in this specific state, either by me or a collection of sponsors are sponsoring money for me that show that I can meet travel costs, living attendance, books, personal expenses, as well as tuition fees. Kind of the ways of thinking of showing up a paper and going, look, I promise I can afford to live here. Will you let me get a visa? It's kind of the ways that I like to look at that or when I talk to students. The only thing that students are required to pay is tuition, school fees, and living expenses on a personal basis. No one ever pays an I-20 to the school. Arizu, do you want to jump in and speak to this as well?
Sure. And one of the things to pay attention with some tuition costs is that they may be different based on the institution type and possibly just based on the states as well, Anna's in New York and I'm in Illinois. And so our tuition costs may be varied based on our own institution and even within other institutions. So it's very easy to kind of get lost in that mindset. So making sure to ask the questions and pay attention to the costs that are provided and making sure that you follow those tuition costs. I recently had an experience, and I have to share it so that people are aware. A student was Googling information and was telling me that our tuition cost was a certain number, and I had no idea where he was getting that from. And so I was directing him right back to our tuition calculator, which is where a lot of these estimates and costs can actually be viewed as well. So Google can be sometimes your friend, but sometimes it can also be your foe. So I would say definitely inquire to the university personnel, whether it's the admissions office or the international student office, whoever is creating the I-20s, to make sure that the costs are true to what you are being told to showcase.
Rule of thumb, if you have a question, ask your academic counselor. Ask whoever's helping you through this process. Google is fantastic. Be kind of the pioneer of your own ship at this point, but also ask us. We're here to help. Some other things to keep in mind throughout the admissions process is some costs prior to admissions. Do you need your documents translated? Do you need them evaluated into a different point system? Are there fees that you have to pay in order to submit an application? Are you visiting a school and maybe you want to take a flight over to tour kind of a whole look of the area? Keep in mind that these are costs that universities do not cover, that it is on your own personal basis. Applying as a national student isn't cheap, but it is feasible. And with that being said, we're going to move over with international students in the US for financing, one of probably the biggest things that students are always looking forward to. So from the undergraduate and graduate level, there may be differences based on scholarship and financing options. The reason that I say may is that each institution works differently. Kind of the way that you're going to get to know, I love analogies. The way that I describe this as students is think of colleges like countries. Essentially, they're all kind of the same, but they all have their different roles and how they function. So if you're applying to multiple schools, which I highly encourage you to do, keep in mind, just because scholarshiping in one school works a certain way does not mean it's the same for all universities, even if they're in the same country. So at the undergraduate level, for the most part, this is an overall view, international students are usually eligible for merit-based scholarship. And what that means is scholarships based on the grades from the transcripts that you provided. Additionally, international student scholarship, athletic scholarshiping, please note that for the most part, athletic scholarship is not offered through the admissions departments. It is usually offered through the athletics department. So just keep that in mind if you are a student athlete coming in. As much as we would love to give all of our student athletes scholarship, it is done through sports teams, but know that athletic scholarshiping on occasion is available. Additionally, competitions. And what I mean by that is sometimes there's essay competitions, video competitions, photo essays, and things like that that universities do. International students may or may not be eligible for those. Just check the rules. All universities are going to list in the rules and kind of the description in each competition who is eligible to apply. Very, very big thing with all of this. Everybody has a pen and a paper. I would like someone to write this down very big. Dates and deadlines. Some schools, and for most of them, are very strict with their deadlines when it does come to scholarshiping. So please manage your time appropriately to make sure that your students are submitting those. I recommend for everybody to have a calendar. It's my best friend of writing down when these things are done. Additionally, please note that you're going to hear financial aid or need-based aid thrown a lot. International students are not eligible for federal state aid. You're going to hear words like FAFSA, which is FAFSA, or TAP also thrown in. International students, unfortunately, are not eligible for funding from the United States or Canadian. I'm assuming Canada jump in as well, Vince. But if you don't have citizenship in that country, the government of that country is not going to provide you with scholarshiping for the most part. But from the school itself, we love to give you money. We want to make sure that we make education affordable for you. Additionally, note the difference between internal and external scholarshiping. What we mean by that, external is anything outside of the university, internal is everything within the university. Anybody else want to jump in on this for undergraduate finance options?
The only thing I would add is sometimes you may also get housing scholarships as well that may help with your housing costs for living on campus. Now, that's one of the things that sometimes students aren't really keen on understanding, but if their students are going to be living off campus in an apartment or a house, they may not be eligible for the housing, as the housing is typically for the dormitories or just what is considered as part of the school's housing system. So but other than that, everything else is true for most of the United States in regards to financing and scholarships.
And it's aligned with our policies here in Canada as well. So I think you did a great job nailing that, Anna. Do not come to Canada with the expectation to receive aid from the Canadian government. You should be prepared to finance the entirety of your program. You should have a sponsor or finances set aside for that. As Anna mentioned, there may be scholarships internally, which we'll talk about a little bit later, that you could qualify for, but that shouldn't be the expectation upon arriving here.
One of the biggest things to note is have a budget, work with your budget, and be honest with your counselors. If there's extra funding that we can provide you, we'd love to do that. I never like telling a student no. So be honest, be upfront, and realistic expectations, the key word to kind of hone in on today. Another thing to note at the graduate level. Now, the difference between undergraduate and graduate programs are many. When it comes to financing your options, one of the biggest things is that graduate students, one, tend to complete shorter programs, typically not 4 years. If it is a PhD program, in graduate schools, you could go for a master's or a PhD program. PhD programs can take a very long time, but usually for a master's degree, up to about 1.5 years to the most that I can think of is 3 years of study. So just keep that in mind, shorter program. 2, graduate programs also on occasion offer scholarship as well as merit-based, international, some student athletes at the graduate level and competitions as well. But for the majority, the school itself will provide scholarshiping through their graduate program. Unlike on an undergraduate level, where essentially all students on an undergraduate level coming in and kind of get allocated scholarship that way, graduate programs have different scholarshiping that are allocated based on your program of study. So if you're something like let's just say a master's degree in biochemistry, I think that sounds fancy enough. There might be a research-based grant that someone can provide for you. There might be a scholarship for you coming in to help finance your research options, coming in to help with tuition. So it is based a little bit more specifically on what the program itself can offer as opposed to the overall university. Just note that at the graduate level, you will not be eligible for the same scholarship competitions that undergraduate freshmen or transfer students are eligible to do so. But something fun to note as well is that there's more external, so outside of the university scholarship options for graduate students, for doing private and public scholarshiping, for research, things like Fulbright. When we look at things like that, are different options that you at the graduate level can pursue if you're heavily research based, is something to kind of keep in mind. I'm going to let my colleagues also speak to that as well.
Sure. One of the ones that at least at our university, and maybe a lot of the other universities as well, may have is assistantship, which can be graduate assistantship, teaching assistantship, and research assistantships. Now, one of the things that's actually pretty interesting is that no undergraduate students can apply for those assistantships. They are mainly for your graduate students, so master's or doctoral students. And with these assistantships, very similar to how Anna described them, they are given on a program basis, not throughout the full university. So if you are, again, a biochemistry major that is coming in as a master's student, you may be eligible to receive an assistantship from the chemistry department. And so that would be specifically to the chemistry department itself, not the entire university. And so that's something to keep in mind. But also note that with graduate financing, it may be more competitive because they are limited sometimes in the number of financing availability slots that they have. So really make sure that you pay attention to the dates and the deadlines. As Anna mentioned, for the undergraduate students, that calendar is something really important to keep in mind when you're looking at all of these dates.
And with that being said, we're going to talk about financing your education and options. Please note that for the United States, this is not Canada-based, for US-based schools, on an F1 student visa, students are ineligible to work outside of the campus during their first year. Off-campus employment are within limitations. Also, just a small note, if anybody has any questions throughout this presentation, please write them in the chat. We'll be able to answer them towards the end. We're going to have a short Q&A section, but if you have any questions as we progress, please write them in the chat. We'll all be able to answer. But what this means is an F1 student visa coming into school. Throughout your first year, it is eligible to find on-campus employment. You are automatically eligible for on-campus employment part-time. Your hours are limited, and the reason this is the case is that under an F1 student visa, your intention is to study, unfortunately not to work. So having a budget in mind to figure out how much money you can allocate towards your living expenses and education is very important. After your first full year, you are eligible to apply for something called CPT, Current Practical Training. Fancy words just to say, yes, after you file some paperwork, after you get approved, you may be eligible to work off campus while you are still studying, but you do have to be engaged in 1 full year or 2 consecutive semesters in order to be eligible for CPT. It does have to get approved by the DSO, and additionally, it does have to be relatable to your program of interest. So one of the examples that I like to say, if you are an accounting major and you come to me or the DSO and you say, hey, listen, I would like to get a job at McDonald's. I would love that for you. Unfortunately, it may not be approved. But if you're an accounting student and you come to me and say, you know what, I got a paid internship at Chase Bank, wonderful, let's get the paperwork going. And that's something that could possibly be approved. Again, paperwork is involved. You can't just go and get this. Additionally, there is something called optional practical training called OPT that is for pre-completion or post-completion of your degree. Essentially, fancy word just to say is after you finish your degree, usually a 4-year undergraduate degree, you are eligible to work for 1 full year, up to 3 if you are in a STEM-related field, so science, technology, engineering, mathematics. There's also a point called severe economic hardship. That is also hard to prove. It is working with the DSO showing that you do need to work because you are presenting severe economic hardship. Again, involves a lot of paperwork. On occasion, students are able to prove this, but that would allow you to work while you are studying. Ariza, do you want to speak a little bit more about what the US looks like in terms of finance?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that's to note and that also helps students is that with CPT, you can have it unlimited while you are studying. So you're not just limited to just having one opportunity to work or have an internship that is related to your field of study. So that's something that's important to note because some students may think that their unpaid internship in their second year may not be enough experience. And so they think that they can't go after another internship, and that's not true. You can. So during your studies, you are unlimited in the number of CPT that you are authorized by your DSO at your university. And it's just a matter of making sure that every semester or every term, quarter, depending on how the school is run, you receive the proper authorization. The most common way a student can go out of status is by starting to work without the proper authorization. So that's very important to stress to students, is that yes, authorization is available and can be done, but just make sure that it's done properly before you start working. And then with the pre-completion versus post-completion, just make sure that you check with the universities. Every university may work differently on whether or not they allow pre-completion or only solely post-completion for the OPT. But other than that, everything else is very much available to students, and it is for F1 students very much strictly has to be related to their field of study. So no working at a gas station as an attendant.
And with that being said, we're going to pass it over to Vince to talk about Canada. So Vince, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anna. So I'm just going to come in and explain some of the differences here at University Canada West and studying in Canada in general. So first and foremost, I mentioned earlier, we are your friends. There's ways to go about finding information on the internet, but do reach out to us. We have a team that's dedicated to supporting your students, a team that's dedicated to supporting you as well in supporting your students. So help us help you. We're one of the few universities in Canada that actually offers scholarships to international students. Some of these are merit-based. However, some of these are regional-based scholarships whereby students actually do not need to apply for them. They're awarded automatically upon successful admission into their program of choice. So you can see here we have a European grant, America's tuition, Southeast Asia, Middle East, and the list goes on and on. These scholarship opportunities help us to make international education more accessible for students all around the world. We know that there can be some challenges given the currency exchange, as well as other factors that students are impacted by, especially right now with the pandemic situation. More and more people are looking for financial support, and more people are interested in relocating and studying abroad. And so these regional scholarships, as I mentioned, based on where the student is coming from, based on their passport, is how they are awarded with these regional grants that essentially allow them to pay the equivalent of domestic tuition fees while studying here in Canada. So a really remarkable opportunity for someone from any of these regions who are thinking about relocating to Canada and studying here. We have undergraduate scholarships as well as graduate scholarships. So our regional grants, those are available to both graduate as well as undergraduate students. And then those merit-based scholarships, you can see here, we've got an MBA Excellence Scholarship. We have the MBA Foundation Study Grant. So maybe you're someone with a bachelor's degree who's looking to pursue an MBA, but don't have that business background. You can start off in an MBA foundation, and there's also grants as well to support you. And then at the completion of your foundation, you would then go directly into your graduate program. But moving on, we do have students for domestic students. We do have scholarships for domestic students just the same. So not only catering for our international students, but also looking out for our Canadian students all across Canada. I won't spend too much time on this one. I'll keep things going right along and touch on how you can work and support yourself while studying here at University Canada West. And so our work study situation is very different from the United States. So students are required to obtain a study permit in order to travel to Canada and study. However, students who have a valid study permit, that study permit is also your work permit. And so you can start working here in Canada as soon as you arrive in Canada. In fact, I've seen situations where students have had jobs lined up before arriving in Canada, obviously because they've got some kind of university experience back home. They've got, professional experiences as well that they can then take here. And so this really helps our students to hit the ground running. And this is something that's recently changed in the past few years. It wasn't this way when I studied in Canada as an international student, but the government, based on the pandemic situation, is doing more and more to support not only our domestic students, but support those students who are coming to us from abroad. And so while you're studying, you can work up to 20 hours per week off campus, right? And if you have a job on campus, you can work as many hours as you'd like. You have that full flexibility. Then also during your breaks, during your work term, your term breaks, while you're on break, you can work full time, or you can work 2 part-time jobs, however you want to do it. When you're on break, you have the full flexibility to work as many hours as you need to, obviously, because it's not interfering with your education. And so students have a little bit of flexibility there. And so it does make it easier for you to, work part-time all throughout your undergraduate degree, because you can do so upon arriving. So moving right along, if you are having a hard time adjusting when you arrive here, we are here to help. And so this is just to highlight some of the services that are available to your students at our university. But rest assured, they're going to be well supported. If they need support with their resumes, interview skills, maybe they haven't had an interview before, they could sit down with a career counselor. They can get support with their personal branding, cover letters, you name it. So we support our students to make sure that they're getting those opportunities, to make sure that they are upskilling in the areas that they need to, and to make sure that they're job ready as well. So again, every university offers some of these services. So it's important for your students to take full advantage, because these services oftentimes are available for free of charge at institutions. So these are some of the ways that students can, qualify for a scholarship, but also not just end at that, have an opportunity to work, gain some valuable work experience. And then at the completion of their degree program, if they successfully complete their program, they would be eligible to remain here in Canada on a postgraduate work permit, similar to the optional practical training. So students can remain in Canada either 2 to 3 years, depending on their program, and work in a career of their choice. And so these are some of the places where our students are currently working. Actually, we have a student, Mario, who just finished his MBA degree. He's done a video for us, and he's now one of the senior managers at Amazon. We have quite a few of our graduates go into banking and finance industries, as you can see here. TELUS is one of the largest telecommunications across Canada. So lots of diversity in terms of where our students are going. But in a recent survey, it shows that 100% of our MBA graduates are finding employment within the first 6 months after graduation. So, that's a huge statistic, knowing that students are coming to our university to advance their career and to open up doors. And upon completion of their degree, having an opportunity to walk right into a meaningful position.
And with that being said, we're going to go into a little bit of a brief presentation of each of our respective universities, so you can learn a little bit more about us throughout this process. Once again, my name is Ana Luisa Teodoro, and I'm here representing St. Francis College. We're located in downtown Brooklyn Heights in Brooklyn, New York, excuse me. We like to say that while Brooklyn is our home, Manhattan is our backyard, meaning that you have not only the ability to dream, serve, and achieve within your community, but you have the entire city at your disposal to grow. And I don't say that lightly. because we do have big areas to grow. We currently represent a total of 72 countries, meaning that we have students from all over the world, where our international student population is about 260 to 280 per year. We are a small school with about 2,600 to about 3,000 students on campus per year, which makes it nice. I like to say, with being in a small school, one of the perks of being in one is that truly everybody will know you by name. If you walk into the classroom with coffee every single day and one day you forget about it, your teacher will ask you because they will remember. Another thing to note is that we are an NCAA Division I sports team, meaning that we compete at the highest athletic level, and we have very small classroom sizes, about a 16:1 student faculty ratio, with our classrooms about 18 students the most. Other things to note is that we're moving. Currently, we're locating on 180 Remsen Street, but our campus is currently moving not too far, around the block, to the new Wheeler building, meaning any students coming in have one, brand new living accommodations, as our residence halls were just renovated. This is the first full year that we have students living in them. Additionally, a brand new campus that is redesigned and imagined to suit our student body more. We keep you guys in mind. We've heard feedback from students, and we're committed to diversity, equality, inclusivity at St. Francis to make our new building more accessible to all students coming in. Additionally, the biggest thing, scholarship. I know we spoke a lot about scholarship and financing today. At St. Francis, we like to make things easy. Same thing that I tell for all international students. Colleges are already hard enough. How to make this simple for you? We function on a 3-scale model. Any student who's a B student or below is put on our B student scale, in which they are eligible for a scholarship of approximately $9,000 a year. But if you do decide to sign in something called our all-inclusive 5-in-1 package, that includes tuition, room and board, meals, books, and health insurance, comes to a total of approximately $39,000 annually. Please note this includes everything that you need to live, and a student can opt in and opt out of this. They don't have to stay for all 4 years. If they want to do it, they can do it for a year and then change their package. Additionally, for an A student, same thing, but instead of a scholarship of $9,000, approximately $10,000. And the all-inclusive package comes to a total of $38,000 per year. But if you're an accounting, economics, IT, or finance student, we do offer a special rate of either $37,000 or approximately 40% off of tuition, was about $11,000 to $12,000 in scholarship, because we are a school that's focused on accounting, economics, finance. Not that our other programs aren't great, but we do have a really strong relationship with the different finance sectors and IT sectors of New York. So if you are a student interested in these fields and looking for internship and job opportunities, this is a program for you. What are admissions requirements? I'm going to breeze through this quick because I know that I want my other colleagues on the call to have the appropriate time to talk about this. Again, we try to make things easy at St. Francis College. All of this is on our website, but quite simply, send me your transcripts. I would love them in English. Let me know that you speak English through a TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo, PT, or ITEP exam. And additionally, if you do have SAT scores, we're an optional school for SAT reporting, except for the nursing program. Once you submit an application and send all those in, you are expected to receive an admissions decision in about a week or two. Some contacts. Please note that my contact information is here in the bottom right. These are also my colleagues at St. Francis College, but if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or just want to say hello, please do email me. The number that's listed there is also my WhatsApp number. Always feel free to send me a text. I never sleep anyway. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it off to my colleagues at Northern Illinois University.
Hi, so once again, and you can go ahead and move forward, Anna. I'm Araizu Kashani Soto, and the Director of International Admissions. Next, so I'll talk a little bit about Northern Illinois. So we are in DeKalb, which is the heart of the US, and we are a public research university. We're actually recognized by the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancements of Teaching. So what does that mean? That means that there are plenty of opportunities for both undergraduate and graduate research for the students. They can work with a lot of our professors that are already in the field and out there to hone in on their research, and then also be able to present it at conferences at the university and also throughout the US. We are about an hour away from Chicago. So being close to the city of Chicago allows for our students to gain not only the cultural experience of visiting the city of Chicago, but also gain internship and work opportunities either during their studies or post-graduation. We are made up of 7 degree granting colleges and offer over 100+ bachelor's degree program, as well as 95 graduate programs, with 27 of them being at the doctoral level. We are a mid-size university, so not small like Anna's, but not too big as well. Our enrollment is about 16,000 students on a yearly basis, and it's mostly undergraduate students, although we have a fairly nice population of our graduate students, and that does include our College of Law. Our student to faculty ratio is a 13:1, so fairly small. Some of your undergraduate classes may be in a bigger classroom setting with about 100 or so students, but that is very much at the beginning of the career. Anything beyond that, you may be in a classroom with 25 to 30 students. At the graduate level, it may be even smaller than that. Our international student population is quite small. About 4.5% of international students make up our enrollment, so a little under 1,000 or so. But we are very diverse, as we have students representing over 77 countries in our student population. We have 300+ student organizations, as well as intramural sports, and we've already discussed some of the scholarships that are available. Next slide, Anna. Our application process, very similar to Anna. It is all available online, but all we require is an application, your school records and transcripts, proof of English, which we will accept the TOEFL, IELTS, IB diploma, Duolingo. The list can go on, with a number of ways to meet the proof of English, and then no application fee for our undergraduate students and no ACT or SAT, as we are test blind. And then for our graduate students, there may be GRE or GMAT that is required, as well as a lot of recommendation. And our estimated cost for one academic year it can range anywhere from $29,500 for graduate students, and undergraduate students about $35,000. We do have program differentials depending on the program of study, and that could be because there may be additional fees towards labs or classrooms that have additional requirements. So I will pass it on over to Vince, but this is all the information to contact me. Email is currently preferred method, and I can always set up a Zoom meeting or Teams meeting for that. So Vince, all yours.
All right, so last but not least, University Canada West. We are a business and technology focused university. Currently, we have about 4,000, well, this is before the start of the fall semester, because we are now up to about 6,000 students on both campuses. Obviously, with many students deferring their studies, we had a massive fall enrollment. And so about 3,000 students starting with us this semester. On our 2 campuses, we represent over 90 different countries, so lots of diversity. You're going to be able to meet students from all around the world, as well as faculty from all around the world. And as I mentioned, we have 2 campuses located in the heart of downtown Vancouver. So 3 beautiful cities being presented to you today: Brooklyn, Chicago, and of course, Vancouver, Canada. We are ranked as one of the top 10 best online universities in Canada as well for 2021. So this is a recent ranking that was just done across institutions in Canada. And so when you think about the number of institutions that exist here, to know that we make the short list of the top 10 best online universities, it's truly an honor for us. And that allows you to know that you're going to have that added flexibility of being able to take online courses while studying on campus as well. And also, we are the first university in British Columbia and only the 3rd university in Canada to receive an overall 5-star rating by QS Stars. So this is a higher education rating system that looks at universities across a variety of different areas, including online, student services, on campus, you name it. So when you think again about the number of universities in British Columbia, and to think that we're at the top of that list. And so here's a little bit about our student body. We have students from 16 years old who study with us in our short-term programs. So we have micro-credentials, which are basically 12-week programs that you can complete. And so we do have some high school students who complete those programs with us, as well as undergraduate and graduate students who are looking to advance their knowledge or skills in particular areas such as marketing or social responsibility or economics. So we have quite a few micro-credentials that can just add value to your degree program. Here are all of our accreditations. So you see we're accredited across Canada, as well as we're globally accredited. Moving right along, I'll just share a little bit about where we're based. So if you haven't been to Vancouver, if you haven't been to Canada, it's absolutely a beautiful place to be. And so here are some fun facts that I wanted to share with you guys in case you don't know much about Canada or Vancouver. Canada has recently been ranked by US News and World Report as the best country in the world, as well as #1 for quality of life and #1 work destination in the world as well. So our economy has reopened. Employers are hiring. Business is booming. Things are slowly returning to normality. And so right now, if you're thinking about studying abroad, if you have students coming to you asking, I'm interested in tech jobs, where should I be thinking about? It's good to know that Vancouver is also the #1 in North America for high-tech job growth. And so all around, a really nice place to be. We are able to enjoy all 4 seasons here, absolutely beautiful in the summertime. They say West Coast is the best coast. So we get the longer days as well. The sun doesn't set until about 9:30 in the evening. But I'm not here to sell Vancouver or Canada. I'm here to share with you guys about University Canada West. So what makes us unique? Flexible intakes, proven employability, as I mentioned, and because of our flexible intakes, students complete their programs faster without taking breaks. Financial support is a big opportunity. Studying with us, the convenience of both on campus and online. A really important one that we get from international students is, will I be eligible for my postgraduate work permit? Yes. Upon successful completion of any of our degree programs, students can remain in Canada and work in Canada for up to 3 years before pursuing their permanent residency. And then moving right along, I just want to close by letting you guys know we're in a prime location. So within our classrooms, you're going to have absolutely spectacular views overlooking downtown Vancouver. Small class sizes are going to ensure a more intimate learning environment and a personal connection with your faculty. Also, you're not going to be as intimidated during class discussions and some of those things. And again, diversity. So not only learning from the syllabus and the textbook, but also being able to learn from your peers and be able to learn from people from around the world in pursuit of becoming a global citizen. So that's my time. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you do have questions about University Canada West, feel free to connect with me in the chat, and I'd love to answer any questions you might have.
Unfortunately, we do have to close this session because we have another one coming up shortly after. But thank you to all our speakers here today. If you have any more questions for them, please feel free to head over to their booth in the exhibit hall. They'd be happy to answer any of those questions for you. Have a good one. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.